Hey guys, and welcome back to another build video for the Land Rover. In today's video, we're fitting a snorkel, and it's around about time. I'm kind of not looking forward to doing this because we have to drill holes, and I don't like drilling holes inside of cars. Oh, that's all right though, we'll get over that fear. What are the differences between having a snorkel and not having a snorkel? Well, most cars intake one side of the engine. They usually intake from about, this high. So if we're going through a water crossing, we get any higher than about the bull bar, we could potentially get water into the airbox and then in turn, water into the engine. We hydrolock the engine, that's it. Whereas having a snorkel on, our snorkel is going to end about here. And if we fit it up correctly, we seal it all, make it airtight, that raises our intake point from about this high to about this high. Now we do have the 3-inch exhaust pipe on the car already, so we've got a lot of air coming out, but I feel we haven't got the air going into the car. So hopefully that'll help us unrestrict some of that airflow into the turbo and hopefully we'll have a good time. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna open the bonnet. Our airbox is over this side of the car. We're gonna take that out for the duration of fitting the snorkel. And we're also gonna tape the side of the fender. The reason that we are taping the side of the fender is because when we drill our hole, we get little bits of swarf, and as that's spinning around on the drill bit, it has a habit of just tearing up paintwork. So if we tape it down, then we drill our holes, we're gonna minimize doing any more damage to the side of the fender than what there already is. So let's get that taped up and go from there. All right, to take the airbox out, we've got 2 nuts over this side. Once we get these guys off, we can freely jump in our intake. So this is kind of the first part of the intake where our air comes in, shoots down into our box. Now, let's just pop that off because I want to show you this guy. Now, a lot of you will have one of these if you've got the TD5, and all of this section here is usually just a material. It allows this part of the intake to flex, and a lot of that could deteriorate. So all I've done here, and I had to fix this ages ago, is I cut a bit of cardboard, the same width. I've got heaps of silicone, just smothered this section in silicone, and I've just gotten that bit of cardboard and just smoothed it around. So that's now completely sealed, or hopefully completely sealed. That may be something you have to do. You can also buy these brand new. I think they're about 180 bucks brand new. All right, so after we've got that off, we need to get the mass sensor out. So that's the mass airflow sensor. It just has a little lock. You pull that out, that's off. Try not to lose that, you will need it. And we've got our 2 clips on this side, undo them. They're now off. We have our airbox clips. Oh, they're off as well. We've got one more sensor over this side of the airbox, and it's just lift up and pull. That sensor's out, and now all we should need to do is make sure that's off. Just pull that up. Oh, I haven't quite unhooked that. Pull that up, and there you go. There's the top half of the airbox off. Take the air filter out. You can see how much shit's in that, and that's pretty much all we need to do for the airbox side of things. All right, so we've got the fender taped up. We have all of the airbox out that we need to take out. Our next step is to put our template on the side and actually drill our holes to fit the snorkel in. When you do buy your snorkel, it usually comes in a kit with your snorkel, all your bolts, screws, rivets, everything you need, but it also comes with this handy template. Now the template itself, careful not to rip it. Now the template itself, usually 90% lines up with your snorkel. But we haven't gone with the standard safari, we've gone with the tough terrain. So this is the template that the tough terrain snorkel comes with, and I'm 99% sure it's not interchangeable with any of the other ones. So if you do buy a snorkel, decide to put another one on, there's a fair chance that these aren't gonna line up. So all we have to do here is the template's got everything written on it, line up with top fender, line up with side of fender. So all we need to do is put it on our top, put it on our side. Now, where a handy tape comes back in, we're just gonna take a little bit of tape, And we're gonna line this up as much as we can. Now, I would say, it doesn't have to be completely perfect. There is some lee room in the template itself. So we're just gonna put that there like so. And line it up with the side. Let's have a look. I would say that is good enough there. Fantastic. Now, just keep in mind that we've got 3 holes to drill, and then we've got our 2 big holes, and then we have to cut and join it together. This one is the crucial. If we don't get this right, we're not gonna have a good time fitting this on. So, let's take our time with this, I think. So put that about there. Fantastic, looking that. That all lines up down the bottom there. Let's just put another bit of tape, another bit of tape there. And what we're gonna do first is just make sure, just put our hand through. Yep, that looks like it's all gonna line up. You'll also have to remove the plastic mud guard that runs around the inside of the wheel well. This is so you can have access between the fender and the car body itself. You'll mainly need this access when you fit the snorkel and have to put your washers and tighten up your nuts for the snorkel to clamp up against the outside of the fender. And what I'm doing here is I'm using a 2mm drill bit. Just as a pilot hole, these need 8.5mm drill bits, and then our 70mm hole. So the reason we're doing a pilot hole is because it makes it easier, especially with an 8.5mm drill bit. They like to wander a little bit. It just helps us to prevent that drill bit from moving. So that's all we're doing. So 2.5mm drill bit. There we go. Right through, hole 1. There we go. Now, we can remove this template. And we can drill into it with our other drill bits. This is the one thing I hate about working on cars, is when you do have to put holes into the bodywork, there's always a chance that it's not in the right spot, and you never know. We'll find out though. All right, so we're just doing the test fit at the moment. Now, as we can see, it all fits in nice into that hole, but if we come around this side, you can see this is our snorkel bit here, and it's just ever so slightly too long. The plastic for the snorkel bit itself is too long. So there's our length through there. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna take the snorkel off. We're gonna mark up, I can see that there's actually a join in the plastic molding. So we're gonna cut the snorkel back down to suit that and retest fit it, and I reckon that'll work. All right, so now that we've test fitted the snorkel, we're actually up to assembly, and it should be pretty easy from here on out. The next bit that we have to put in is this guy. Now, this guy fits in like so, with our large flat edge up against the inside of this wall here. So through this side here, and we'll put a whole bunch of silicone on it so it seals. And then what happens is we've got this guy up against that wall. When our snorkel fits in, it'll actually seal up on it. So we're gonna put silicone up on the snorkel as well. So when we fit it all together, when it all dries, it'll be, hopefully, fingers crossed, completely sealed. So then if we get any water splash up from the wheels, we get any water coming down through the fender, we shouldn't be able to get water, period, into any of our intakes or anything like that. And what's also going to help as well is once we bolt our snorkel on, this will also hopefully seal up as well. So the tightness of the snorkel and everything going in together should help push this up against that back wall of the fender. So that's all done. Let's have a look, let's get this in here. And, oh. And there we go. All right, so as you can see here, this is where it fits in, and our flat surface is hard up against the other side of the fender wall. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this off, that's all coming off, and when we fit our snorkel, it'll sit in hard up against this. So we'll do the same thing again with the silicone. We'll wrap the snorkel up in silicone, so when it fits in, it seals around. And because we've got access through here, we can actually run around and make sure that it is all sealed before we put this trim back in. All right, our snorkel's on. Reassembly is pretty much the opposite of what we were doing before. So we're just gonna hook everything in. This guy fits it back down on our airbox. We've got this guy that goes in here. Same thing, we have our nuts. We're just gonna tighten them up. Now, you might be wondering why I'm not putting silicone on this. So on the other side of this guy, we've got a seal. It's not a rubber seal, just a small seal that goes around it. But that is enough just to keep this sealed up. Whilst going through river crossings, we're not going to get any water in it. If we were to obviously have an issue where we get bogged in water, then this whole thing will probably fill up, and we're going to hydrolock it anyway. So that is just enough just to keep, let's say we get water up through here, it's just enough just to keep water out of here. So after we've done that, we've hooked that back on. All right, so now that we've got all this attached, we're just gonna work on the box, air filter, back in like so. Our lid. Now, if you haven't done this before, there's a secret to getting this guy on. First off, hook him in, then we come down. Now, oh, maybe not. We hook him in, we come down. Now, before we do anything, we'll grab our hose, and as we come down, push him up. So as we come down, we push him in, and that should all line up together like so. Clamp him down, clamp him down. Sensor goes back in this side, our MAF sensor on the top here. Airbox is all back on, all sealed, ready to go. We just need to find that clip for the MAF sensor and we'll be all good to go. Alrighty. All right, so after we put all the airbox back together, we've bolted our snorkel in, we have one more bit to do, which is bolting this bit of the snorkel in. With the kit you'll probably buy, like I said before, we've got the Tough Terrain, the knockoff, not the Safari. We do have a plate that it comes with. 4 holes one side, 3 holes the other side. So all we're going to do here is the side with the 3 holes. We're just going to lightly attach it to this side. It is stainless steel, so it has got a cover on it, but all we're doing for now is just locating our holes. So we want to pre-drill everything before we obviously put it all together. So we're just going to get those holes pre-drilled first, and then we'll fix it all down. Open the door out. Probably would have been easier to open the door first prior to doing this, but that's okay. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to push it in. I'm going to push it in. Hole 1, 2, 3, and 4. Front and the back off. And then attach it for good, and then we're done. So. Now that we've got that peeled, we're just going to put rivets into the body. That's going to rivet in, and that's what's going to hold it in. So you will need a rivet gun to do that. Now that plate's on. All right, now that that plate's on, all we need to do is attach our snorkel itself. We're going to put what's called Loctite onto the bolts itself. Now Loctite works like super glue for your bolts. So you put a bit on, you put it in the hole, it hardens up, and when you're rattling around, that bolt won't work itself loose and fall out, and then in turn will keep the snorkel on the car for longer. So let's go find that. Okay, so with the Loctite, all we do, like I said before, we just put a little bit on the end of the bolt like so. And then from there, just push the snorkel in, get that in the hole, and tighten her up. A tip with this is to do the same thing we did before. Just put all the bolts in, finger tight, and then once you've got all the bolts in, that's when you tighten them up, because the last thing that you want to be doing is tightening up your first bolt and have your other bolts won't line up. So now that we've got all our bolts in, we're going to tighten her up. And there we go, 1, 2, and our third one, 3, and there we go. That's our snorkel installed. We're pretty much going to leave this overnight to let all of the silicone dry. Once that silicone dries, it should be sealed. Now, when I say sealed, it's not going to be sealed enough that if I were to drive in water, stop the car, of course the car's going to fill up. It's more for if I'm wading through water and I have that nice constant speed, that nice bow wave going, and water does happen to get into the engine bay, it's not going to get into that intake system and end up into the engine. That's the whole purpose. So we've realistically raised the point that we can wade through water from the bonnet of the car all the way up to the top. And we should probably also tighten this guy on. So yeah, so that is pretty much it. We're going to put the rest of the mud guard back in, and then that's pretty much it. That is the snorkel installed. So hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time it is. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video.